Saladmanders, the teensy tiny fruit dragons of Don't Starve Together, everyone. These little lizards are some of my favorite mobs in the entire game, and were first introduced way back when with the addition of the Lunar Islands themselves. And they may be small, they may not actually do all that much if we're honest, and yet they not only have some of the most complex mob mechanics in the game, but also drop some of the best food loot too. So let's discuss. And let's start with where these little guys actually reside. As yes, that would be the Lunar Island as said before, but Salamanders actually prefer that of the Lunar Bats biome, and we'll talk about why here in a minute. And sure, you might find a straggler here and there as it's all about territory for these little things, but at the end of the day, your destination is the same. So, get to sailing. Or should you? Because you might not even know where the bloody heck you're going yet. We've done plenty of lunar content, with even more to come. And just recently, I've had the opportunity to tell you how certain spawns out on the ocean actually influence world branches. So if you do want all the details, then head here. However, for us today, but one thing matters: straight edges. Map your borders, locate some unnaturally looking straight edges that actually appear to have been cut off, and chances are you're good to set sail from there. They can be as flat as a pancake or pretty darn jagged, but whatever the case, they must be straight. So yes, that means that unfortunately for some, and to all the newbies out there, you will be setting foot on a boat eventually and floating it to the Lunar Islands themselves. If you're like me and are not a fan of that, then fair enough. But even I spent a good long time covering everything related to seafaring. So don't be a sourpuss, especially when there's some good stuff out there. From the basics of the seafaring tab, to things no one in their right mind would even think twice about, like with ocean debris. Learn what you can, as the Lunar Islands are bountiful. Don't miss out. But let us return to our regularly scheduled programming, shall we? Salamanders love the lunar bats because it's chock full of hot springs, and these hot springs are their quote-unquote homes essentially. Salamanders claim a hot spring for themselves, and actually defend them from others, who very often try to take them over for themselves, hence that whole territory thing I said prior. And this goes on and on and on for darn near every hot spring with every salamander on the island, and the fights are going to end differently every time. But whatever the case, the winner is usually the one sleeping nearest to a spring. And this is going to be very important later. But speaking of fights, is it actually worth it to fight salamanders ourselves? Well, yes, but actually no. Because here's the thing, salamanders don't really have a way to respawn if I'm remembering correctly, as they don't even have a herd population mechanic like beefalo or volt goats for example. So this means that they are limited in numbers obviously, which is quite a shame, because they truly do drop some really good loot at the end of the day. Oh, and by the way, mind their whopping 900 health and 30 damage to chomp too for just a simple mob. Easy kite, but they're tough little guys. And oh, times 2 and 3, salamanders won't actually attack you for hitting another of their kind, and they drop a leafy meat when killed. So let's talk about that now that we got the chance. Leafy meat alone is not the most spectacular thing in the world. However, recent changes to the game has made its crockpot related dishes some of the best ones around. Jelly salad will restore nearly 40 hunger and 50 sanity. Veggie burgers restore over 30 health, sanity, and hunger altogether. Beefy greens restore 40 health, 75 hunger, and 5 sanity. And leafy meatloaf restores 8 health, 37.5 hunger, and 5 sanity to boot. Not bad at all. Well, unless of course you're Wirt, who can't actually eat any of it. But Wigfrid can. But let's turn up the heat, shall we? Hot springs are not actually as hot as they can be initially. But to change that, we will be needing bath bombs, a crafted item found under the Celestial tab. but one is always found in a mini set piece of sorts on the actual islands, so there's that. However, why are we even doing this? How does this relate to salamanders at all, Beard? Great questions, friends, and the answer is that not only will a hotter hot spring attract salamanders, they will ripen them as well. Heat ripens salamanders and alters their appearance, as you can see here. However, things go well beyond that, trust me. While ripe salamanders will keep their 900 health, not only does their damage climb to 50 over the usual 30, they have a new flame attack to boot. They will occasionally send out a burst of short-ranged flame that will set most anything on fire, so be mindful there. But other than that, the fight should be the same, mind you. Well, apart from the new loot, of course. For you see, ripe salamanders drop dragon fruit, everyone. And dragon fruit alone ain't bad, especially if you choose to cook it first. And it can go into things like dragon pie, which will restore 40 health, 75 hunger, and 5 sanity, or even hot dragon chili salad for -3 health, 25 hunger, and 10 sanity. And if you're like me and have totally forgotten what the heck hot dragon chili salad even is, then I don't blame ya. But just note that it is a Warley exclusive recipe is all. Munch away. But hold up. There is actually more to talk about with how heat impacts salamanders, folks. Like how hot springs are not the only ways to ripen a lizard. In fact, most every significant heat source is capable of not only attracting salamanders, but ripening them too. And not only that, they will still fight each other over other sources of heat as well. It's all interesting stuff. But it gets even better. For you see, even a slightly warm thermal stone will actually have these little guys running about and even following you until they fall asleep or the thermal stone cools down. And yes, they will even fight over all this at the end of the day to boot. It's fun stuff, actually. But sadly, salamanders cannot make the leap onto our boats, no matter how close it is to the edge. So the only way to get them off the lunar island is to zap them off with a telelocator. That's kind of a shame, actually. Perhaps a new quality of life update will change that. But two last notes here, folks. One, hound waves still occur on the lunar islands, so if you're stuck and in need of help, then look no further than a teensy tiny little mob boasting 900 health and a potential 50 damage a bite. Good frickin' stuff. And lastly, people to this day keep commenting how salamanders follow warthogs freely without heat. And to those people, I always respond with this. The bloody heck are you on about? But there you have everyone. A mob guide of all things for Don't Starve Together. I thought I had covered it all. And here I am knowing that there is even more to come. Gosh, I love me some lunar content, folks. But thanks for watching. Enjoy your time with these little lunar lizards. Well wishes, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.